Now we move to Drainage System Part 2. This time, the story splits in two very different directions. One river begins in Tibet as the Yarlung Tsangpo, cuts through the Himalayas and becomes the untamed Brahmaputra. The other half of the chapter belongs to the ancient peninsula, old rivers, stable blocks, east-flowing giants, and a few west-flowing rebels. So the frame is simple. From the purifier of Tibet to the Dakshin Ganga of the south. Start with the Brahmaputra before it is called the Brahmaputra. In Tibet, it is the Yarlung Tsangpo. Its origin is the Chamayungdung Glacier near Mansarovar Lake. Its name means the purifier. Now notice the environment. This Tibetan stretch is dry and flat, so the river carries a low silt load here. And before entering India, it travels about 1,200 kilometers in Tibet. Most students remember the Indian name and ignore the Tibetan stage. That is weak preparation. UPSC likes the full journey. Now comes the dramatic turn. Around the Namcha Barwa Massif, marked here at 7,755 meters, with another high wall marked above 7,100 meters, the river bends sharply and enters India. And here is the classic prelims trap. It is not called Brahmaputra immediately. In India, it first appears as Siang or Dihang. Only after the Dibang and Lohit join it does the river take the name Brahmaputra. If you miss that transition, you lose an easy question. Now follow the Brahmaputra across the northeast. As it moves through Assam, major tributaries join from both sides. From the north and northeast side, remember Subansiri, Kameng, Manas and Sankosh. From the south and southeast side, remember Burhidihing, Dhansiri and Kalang. Further west and into the Bangladesh sector, Teesta also becomes important. And retain one memory cue. Lohit is a left bank tributary. That is exactly the kind of directional detail examiners use to separate careful students from casual ones. Then the river enters Bangladesh, moves toward the Padma, and the combined system ultimately heads into the Bay of Bengal. Now leave the youthful Himalayan system and enter the peninsular drainage. This is an old and stable river world. The contrast is clean. Himalayan rivers are youthful. They are young, volatile, often have meandering courses, and they cut deep gorges. Peninsular rivers are senile or old. They flow over an ancient stable block, develop broad, graded, shallow valleys, and usually follow fixed courses with little meandering. And do not miss the exception already hinted here. Narmada and Tapi are different because they flow through rift valleys. Now ask the real question. What shaped the peninsular rivers the way they are? 3 events. First, subsidence. The western flank submerged during the Tertiary period. Second, upheaval. As the Himalayas rose, associated structural disturbance and trough faulting helped create the path used by Narmada and Tapi. Third, the tilt. The peninsula developed a northwest to southeast tilt, and that is what directs most rivers toward the Bay of Bengal. This is the high-yield idea most aspirants miss. If you do not understand the tilt, you cannot explain why so many peninsular rivers flow east. Now come the west-flowing rebels, Narmada and Tapi. These rivers do not follow the usual eastward pattern because faulting created the path for them. They flow through a rift valley, more specifically a graben, lying between the Vindhya range in the north and the Satpura range in the south. The Narmada rises near the Amarkantak plateau. The Tapi rises at Multai in Betul district, Madhya Pradesh. Both move westward and ultimately enter the Arabian Sea through the Gulf of Khambat. And this concept must be locked properly. Why do they form estuaries and not deltas? Because they flow over hard rocks, so there is not enough alluvial sediment to build a delta. Now to the desert system. Luni, the ephemeral river. Ephemeral means exactly what you should write in an answer. Seasonal flow. And it dries up before reaching the ocean. Luni is the largest river system of Rajasthan, west of the Aravalli. the map gives you the setting clearly. It rises near the Pushkar Aravali region, flows across the arid west, and moves toward the Rann of Kutch. Around it, orientation rivers like Saraswati and Sabarmati appear, but Luni remains the key desert river to remember. This is not a perennial sea-reaching river. Treat it as a desert drainage system. Now come back to the east-flowing giants, beginning with Godavari. This is the Dakshin Ganga, the Ganga of the south. It rises in the Trimbak hills near Nasik. And one fact must be permanent in your memory. It is the longest peninsular river, about 1,465 kilometers. Major tributaries marked here include Penganga, Pranhita, Manjira, and Indravati. The basin spread shown here touches Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh. When UPSC asks for the largest peninsular river, do not hesitate. Godavari. Now the other east-flowing giants. First, Krishna. It rises near Mahabaleshwar and is marked here as the second largest, with a length of about 1,401 kilometers. Important tributaries shown are Koyna, Bhima, and Tungabhadra. Then, Mahanadi. Its origin is at Sihava in Chhattisgarh, and the length marked here is 851 kilometers. The basin split is also given clearly. About 53% lies in MP/Chhattisgarh and 47% in Odisha. So the hierarchy is straightforward. Godavari first, Krishna second, and Mahanadi as another major east-flowing system. Now Kaveri, the peninsular exception that students often underestimate. It rises in the Brahmagiri hills. Major tributaries shown here are Kabini, Bhavani, and Amravati. And here is the high-yield fact. Kaveri receives rainfall from both monsoons, from the southwest monsoon in summer and from the northeast monsoon in winter. That is why it is described here as a perennial river. It flows through the year. This is exactly the kind of climate drainage linkage UPSC rewards. Now look at the small rivers of the west, especially in Gujarat and Maharashtra. In Gujarat, remember, Shetranji, origin at Dalkawa, Amreli, Bhadra. Origin at Aniyali, Rajkot. Dhadhar, origin at Ghantar. And the major western rivers to keep in view there are Sabarmati and Mahi. In Maharashtra, the river marked here is Vaitarna, rising in the Trimbak hills near Nasik. These are short west-flowing systems entering the Arabian Sea, and they matter because map-based questions often hide inside small names. Now move slightly south to the lifelines of Goa and Karnataka. For Goa, the key rivers are Mandovi and Juari or Zuari. For Karnataka, remember, Kalinadi, from Belgaum to Karwar Bay. Betti, associated with the Hubli-Dharwar region. Sharavati. And this one you must connect immediately to Jog Falls. These are again short, west-flowing coastal rivers, but they are economically and regionally vital. Do not treat them as minor just because they are short. Now come to Kerala's narrow drainage. The data here is deliberately tricky. By catchment area, Bharatapuzha or Ponnani is marked as the longest river, with about 5,397 square kilometers. Periyar comes next, with about 5,243 square kilometers, marked as the second largest. And the difference between the top two is extremely small, only about 150 square kilometers. That is why this is a favorite trap. Students confidently reverse them. Also note this separate fact. Pamba falls into Vembanad Lake. Now compress the entire chapter into one revision frame. The tilt explains why most peninsular rivers flow east. The rift valleys explain why Narmada and Tapi break the rule and flow west. The Arabian Sea side gets the rebels. The Bay of Bengal side gets the conformists, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri. The Brahmaputra remains the great northeastern giant, and Kaveri stands out because of the double monsoon support. Pause this map, screenshot it, revise from it. If you can reconstruct this drainage logic from memory, Tibetan origin, Brahmaputra naming, peninsular tilt, rift valleys, east flowing giants, west flowing exceptions, and Kerala's tricky data, you are exam ready.